So thank you, everybody, for coming out to the joint 1 Million Cups Capital Entrepreneurs. We're excited to see this many people. We're excited to hear from Chris about Sector 67. I'm going to just give you a quick overview of 1 Million Cups for those of you that this is your first time here. 1 Million Cups is a program that connects entrepreneurs with the community. So each week we have a presenter. The presenter shares their business idea, what's kind of going on in their world, and the audience has a chance to ask questions, meet the presenter, and network. And the format typically is a 10 to 15 minute presentation followed by 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A. And today we're really thankful for our sponsors that make 1 Million Cups possible. We have Capital Entrepreneurs who brought the donuts. We have coffee from the Wisconsin Technology Council, and Field 59 that does our live streaming and video recording. So if you want a copy of the presentation, it'll be up on our website usually later today or tomorrow. And anytime you can't make it to 1 Million Cups but are interested in tuning in, you can go to our live stream and watch it there. We have a link at the top of the page. So that's a little bit about 1 Million Cups. I'm going to let Forrest tell you a little bit about Capital Entrepreneurs.
Hi everybody, my name is Forrest Woolworth. I'm the co-founder and director of Capital Entrepreneurs. Capital Entrepreneurs is a community and peer support group for Madison area entrepreneurs. We're a grassroots group. We started in 2009. Basically a bunch of entrepreneurs got together and said, hey, we want to make Madison a great place for entrepreneurs, and have gathered every month since then, basically, and have done lots of other cool stuff. And as you all have known, lots of fun, awesome things have emerged in the Madison entrepreneurial ecosystem over the last few years, and we're excited to be part of that. So we have over 400 members now, all of which are founders or early stage employees of Madison area startup companies or groups, and definitely open to any other founders and entrepreneurs who are here today that are not yet involved in Capital Entrepreneurs. Would love to get you involved, so go to capitalentrepreneurs.com/join. And anybody who's an active founding member or early stage employee of a startup company in town is welcome to get involved. We do monthly meetings, are kind of the core events that we started out with originally and have maintained throughout the last 6 odd years now. Those are monthly. We've done a lot more variety this year with a couple joint events like the one you're at today, and otherwise do our own members meetings once a month. Also do a number of other events, everything that we either organize directly or our very active members play a direct part in organizing and making happen. Everything from Startup Weekend to Build Madison to Forward Festival, and a lot of these other things that are happening around town. We've got a hand in making them happen, and it's been awesome to be a part of. So yeah, definitely head to capitalentrepreneurs.com/join if you are not yet involved and you're an entrepreneur. I'd love to have you join. So.
And then part of our tradition is to go around and do introductions. We have a large group today, so if you want to just go around, say your name and who you're with. We also will have some sponsor updates. I know that Mo's going to talk a little bit about the early stage symposium. We've got Heather who can fill us in on what's happening with the Doyen group. So if you have an announcement and can keep it brief, feel free to do so. So I'm Rachel Neal. I'm one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups. I also work for Nordic Consulting. Live.
Oh, I see. I was going to say, I don't know if that microphone is working.
So use your loud voice.
That's all right. I can project. I'm Justin Johnson. I own a company called Sustainable Kitchens based in Milwaukee, and we do a little work in Madison.
My name's Spencer Fricky, and I'm a UW student here. Garrett Lee, Good Point and Y, out of 100 State.
Hi, I'm Sarah Garnett. I'm with the Greater Madison Convention and Visitors Bureau.
I'm Wes Garnett, and I'm the co-founder of Kirby.
I'm Ryan Natsky. I'm with HealthX Ventures.
I'm Drew Corson from Natter & Boucher.
I'm Ben Rayboyne of Custom Offsets.
Steve Claude, 32 Auctions.
Kurt Peterson, 32 Auctions, online platform for hosting and managing silent auctions.
Andrew Stigman, founding engineer of Autosport Labs with MadWorks here in Madison.
I'm Varun Pargava with Retail Next.
Derek Gebler, founder at Field 59 Video, offices at 100 State.
Gabe Freeman, a student at UW-Madison and also a Capital Entrepreneurs intern.
Randy Nagy, owner of Fast Forward Forensics.
Joey Frayne, WDC Entrepreneurship and Innovation Division.
Taylor King, City of Sun Prairie Economic Development Department. Neil Steixelte, City of Sun Prairie.
Jesse Darley, Beer Cap Maps.
Steve Latham, co-founder Beer Cap Maps.
Pavel Smilov, streamer, Field 59.
Kevin Little with the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce.
Will Robis, Little Green Pencil, and UW-Madison Discovery Product.
Jeremy Udovich with Heiko Solutions. We're an offshore software and hardware development firm.
Christine Ash with Park Bank on the Square.
Tindy Lin, I'm co-founder and photographer at Snow Forest, specialized in architectural photography. I also work as a statistician at Nexion Pharmaceuticals.
Melissa Kaisers from Creative Business Interiors.
Good morning, Robert E. Koch with Parents Planning for College.
I'm Matt Lee, writer for ShipOrGetOffThePot.com and 100 State member.
I'm Claudia Seidenberg. I handle operations at 100 State.
I'm Gregory St. Floyd. I'm the executive director at 100 State, 200 plus member co-working community.
My name is Chris. I'm the co-founder of UpDown, which is a health and fitness application.
Mike Freeze, also with UpDown.
Ibrahim Haroun, CEO, creative director of IH Concepts, work out of 100 State as well.
I'm Heather Wentler. I'm the executive director of the Doyen Group, and we have an opportunity coming up for women entrepreneurs. We hold 3-day strategic planning retreats, and our next one is October 23rd to the 25th. So if you know any women entrepreneurs that are looking to take their business to the next step, please refer them to me or our website. Or if there's women in the room that are interested, please feel free to come and talk to me.
Hi, my name's Jack. I'm a student at UW here. I'm here on behalf of a student organization called ISIC, and that's an international student organization focused on facilitating professional and service-oriented exchange trips.
Hi, everyone. I'm George Liu. I'm with Isaac too, UW student.
Hi, my name is Ryan Hall. Just moved to Madison, actually, and I've been working in education in New York City for the past 10 years.
Molly Siegel. I work for a company called Talavant. We are a business intelligence consulting startup here in Madison.
Thank you. My name is Maurice Cheeks. I'm a member of the Madison City Council and director of the Wisconsin Innovation Network. We at the Tech Council are excited to sponsor this event. One of the things that I want to make sure is on everyone's radar, and many of you guys have heard this, but our group keeps growing, so I have to repeat myself. The Wisconsin Tech Council is hosting the Early Stage Symposium on November 4th and 5th. Please mark your calendars for that. This audience is sort of the perfect audience for it, and we'll have probably 600 business leaders throughout the state of Wisconsin at this event at the Monona Terrace. We're taking applications right now for early stage startups to join our pitch competition. So on September 28th, that's the last day for the applications for that. We'll have probably 50 or so. I'm getting a call on my watch. That's the weirdest thing. We'll have probably 50 or so investors in the room. So if you are at the early stage of your company or looking to raise funds, pitching at the Early Stage Symposium is a great place to be. So see me if you have any questions about that. Thank you.
My name's Rowan Childs, and I do marketing and PR for Quiet Time and founder of Madison Reading Project.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Nettie. I'm one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups. I also work at Catalyze, which is a health IT company here.
Monte Schmidt, founder of Sonic Foundry, now with One Tusk doing angel investing.
I'm Laurel White. I'm the tech reporter at the Cap Times.
My name's Ed Graves. I'm the business and technology librarian here at the library.
I'm Leah Anderson. I'm one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups, and I work at Nordic Consulting. And I just want to put in a pitch for people to sign up for our newsletter, please. You can sign up there on our website. And if you're on Twitter, I'm going to be live tweeting today's event. So if you want to follow along, #1MCMad, we would love to hear from you. Thanks.
And I'm Megan O'Rear, also an organizer for 1 Million Cups. And I'm also with Nordic Consulting in 100 State.
Great, and now we're going to turn things over to Chris at Sector 67.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me to the event this morning. I'm usually not up this early, so you're lucky. And there's no orange juice in the room. I'm disappointed. So I started Sector 67 in 2010. I graduated from UW, got an engineering degree there, and kind of got that place started and running by myself. This is actually from our very first meeting. I had some fun digging through pictures this morning. So this is actually Matt presenting. He made an audio backpack. So basically you could stream audio to it and have speakers wherever you had your backpack. So that was an early innovation that somebody was working on at our shop. The space itself, for those of you who are unfamiliar, it kind of serves for 3 different roles for different sets of people. The biggest thing we provide is space and tools and resources for people looking to make things. Making things can be very, very, very broad, as I'll show you some pictures from later on. I put this up here because oftentimes people try to differentiate these 3 users, whether they're youth, whether they're hobbyists, or whether they're entrepreneurs. Really, I see them all as the same thing. We're providing the same set of resources for all those same people. It's education opportunities, and those are very, very broad words that I've chosen intentionally. Where we are specifically, we're at 2100 Winnebago Street. We're in an old lawnmower repair place. So if it looks like a scary warehouse, that's because it was and still is. So feel free to come out and stop by. We do tours on Fridays, and I'll have some more on that later on. If you know where East High School is, it's the big red castle on East Washington Avenue. We're sort of directly 1 block south of there. The space itself is sort of broken up. I just threw this up here to give you an idea of representation. We're about 8,500 square feet, so it's fairly large and pretty diverse. We've got everything from like woodworking shop and metal shop all the way down to office space. So it sort of differentiates itself based on different users and different interests. I always get this question, so I'll head it off with some good slides. These spaces have existed all around the world for the past 10 plus years. You're just recently hearing about them with the makerspace and hackerspace movement. Yeah, I've got a plant in the crowd who's passing around stuff that's been made at our shop, so those are random things that you'll see. Sorry to the internet users, unless they pass by the videographer, you won't get a chance to check them out. But these spaces have existed all around the world. They started out of Germany in Europe about 30 years ago, and then have sort of spread throughout that. In the US, there's quite a few, mostly around large population centers. As of 3 years ago, when I had this picture, there was literally nothing all through the middle of the US, so that's all recently filled in. This was really something on the east and west coast, and there's a lot of density there where you've got a lot of urban structure, where it's harder to have your own workshop in your garage or in your house, where you've got smaller apartments and otherwise. These are where these places are popular. People at our space work on everything. This is probably one of the more industrial uses. Actually, my slides got stripped apart, so I'll put back why this is up here. But we do an iron pour once a year in February. It's called Pour Your Heart Out, and it's in collaboration with a whole lot of artists, one of whom I'll mention individually here in a couple slides. And basically, you can come and you can buy a heart tile set. You can carve whatever you want in them, and they'll get cast and cast iron forever. They're very, very hard to destroy, so I tell you to choose wisely what you put on them. But you can see them here essentially as they get poured. They're red hot. They're molten iron, which is hotter than lava actually. So these guys have got all sorts of leathers and all sorts of stuff on to protect them, except for the guy in the hoodie over here. Not so good over that way. Otherwise, we go out and do like Wisconsin Science Festival, which is coming up. So these are some kids checking out a 3D printed humanoid robot. So it's a full-size human, all printed off. That was made from some instructions online as an open source project. Another one of our members makes recycled metal artwork sculptures. So this was actually over in Orton Park as part of their park display funded by the city Blink grants. Another one of our members wanted to build a pumpkin carving machine. We ended up using our computer-controlled milling machine to be able to carve out really, really intricate pumpkins. So we had some fun making things that way. Actually, a UW student a few years back, whose name is Eric Ronning, who's since been around the community as an entrepreneur, started out at our shop working on building a 3D printed prosthetic hand. This was kind of before it was a big thing. And he has got a patent on this wrist system that allows it so that rather than all the fingers closing and kind of stopping whenever 2 fingers touch something, it'll actually close all the fingers around whatever the object was. So he patented that and worked on it for a number of years to try and bring prosthetics cost way down. Now, as you've probably seen online, there's a whole lot of projects doing these same things. So this has been really cool to watch that whole progression. In his case, he started by going to True Value and buying a bunch of pulleys and brass stock and then smashing it out on a hammer on his desk to be able to make the pieces that he needed. And then he grew in sophistication over time as he learned how to CAD model things and use the 3D printers and go from there. So you'll kind of note a theme. There's a lot of things that start as a very small thing and then build and build and build and build over time as people get more experience. This is why I have the iron pour pictures up there. This is Alyssa Toninato, who's another entrepreneur in Madison. That's Martha Stewart, and she was on the Martha Stewart show talking about her cast iron U.S. map. And so she made all these cast iron skillets, and she'd originally come to us because she had hand cut, like literally by hand with a scroll saw, every single state all the way up to here. And she had an art show coming up later that month, and she couldn't get them done in time, cutting them out by hand. She like did the timing and said, it's going to take me like the rest of my life to cut out the rest of these, and I don't have that long. So we were able to help her and teach her how to use the CNC milling machine so that she was able to route out the remaining patterns. And she still had to hand cut some where the interface was because the computer controlled system was too perfect. So as an artist, she needed to figure out how to get the blend between the states she cut out and the ones that were getting cut out by the machine to get that all sorted out. But these are her art pieces. She makes a production Wisconsin skillet. You can actually get it at the kitchen gallery here in town, and that's what this one is. And you can actually cook in it, or you can hang it on your wall, or you can do whatever you want, but it's pretty awesome. Other things that have been worked on at our shop, this is a foam space shuttle, and what we did with that is we actually sent it way, way, way up in the air. This is a picture kind of out the back of it at about 70,000 feet. These are sort of an amateur fun project you can do if you're bored in a few weekends and have a couple $100 to blow. You can build this little thing and put a GPS transmitter in it and then let it go, and it'll take really beautiful pictures. The catch is getting it back. It usually drifts for about 4 or 5 hours, which means it'll go halfway across the state. So you end up having a fun day of 8 hours of driving back and forth to go launch the thing and go get it back. But if you do recover it, then you get some really cool pictures. So we had some fun with these. That's the picture from it, yeah. Yeah, we took that picture, sorry, to be clear. This is a hard drive platter hanging out on some carbon fiber rods that kind of look over the shoulder of the little spaceship. So that's sort of back here. And then it looks over this way, and then the rest of the picture is just looking out with a GoPro out over the horizon, so it's pretty neat. That one landed in a farm field like just west of Milwaukee. We had another one we launched in Toma, and it landed just north of Chicago. So they fly for quite a ways, especially if you screw up and the balloon doesn't go as high as fast as it was supposed to, and then it drifts a lot farther. People have accidentally sent these around the world. There was a project that sent one up in California, and it landed in Spain, out in the ocean, so nobody got it back. But they were able to track it that far using amateur radio enthusiasts all around the world. So all that aside, this is just goofy projects. It's always kind of fun to share. This one, if any of you guys are familiar with Make Magazine, we were on the cover of that about 2 years ago now. We built this little kid's Power Wheels toy. By show of hands, how many of you guys had Power Wheels cars when you were a kid? Yeah, everybody want one now that goes a lot faster. So this was built as part of a thing called the Power Wheels Racing Series, and we were racing these cars around. We had won the World U.S. Championship for 3 times, and so we had some fun with that. But we did a write-up on it and ended up getting covered in Make. This was one of our high school members driving it out, and I think that was out in Kansas City or New York. And so they have the cover story on that, so it's pretty fun. We didn't know this picture was coming out, by the way, and the guy who's pictured in here is still embarrassed to this day. He's very shy, but it's really funny that he's on the cover of a magazine, so I use that to my advantage. This was Snowshoe Stamp. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They actually started out of UW as a bunch of graduate students, and we're trying to make a carbon counting iPhone app or an Android app that you can go in the grocery store and understand how far away your food went or came from, which is why they have the name Snowshoe. And then they realized that was really, really hard to get data from manufacturers, and so they pivoted and said, screw it, we're going to make essentially like a stamp app. And so what they could do is they can physically validate that your phone visited the coffee shop, or they can physically validate that you've been somewhere, that you've maintained something, or who knows what. So there's a lot of uses for these. And so this was something that started at our shop, and Klaus talks always about how he walked in and like 3 hours later had a prototype of his thing so he could go to his board meeting the next day and convince his board to completely change what they were doing and go from being literally a green startup to making widgets that people are going to throw away. So this was a total turnaround for what they were doing. So these are kind of my fun stories. I wanted to keep it brief. The things sort of that you can help with is you can come by and take a tour or sign up as a member. We do tours every Friday from 1 to 7 in the hour. please don't just randomly stop by. I do not have the time, unfortunately, anymore to work with people on a drop-in basis. So you've got to come by when we do a tour, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 every Friday. So literally any Friday you can wander in on the hour. You can see what people are up to. You can see kind of what projects and space and tools and all kinds of things that we have here. The other thing that we're working on now actively is we're working as part of the Starting Block project, and we need support on that project. That project needs to finish funding. We're about 85% of the way there, but we need to finish that out. So that's something that if you know somebody, I heard from an angel investor in the back of the room, just to harass Monty, who's rolling his eyes, which that was my goal. We are working on trying to raise funds for being able to be a larger space and be able to service more people. We're self-sustaining as an entity, which is a nonprofit, is a great thing to be, but we need one time to build out a larger facility. The next thing is, this weekend actually is Milwaukee Maker Fair. This is when 40,000 plus people gather around the state fair as well as the Maker Fair, and you get to see really, really cool projects. This is a picture I stole from their website. We were out there last year. And you can come, we're having a lock picking table, so if you want to learn how locks work and pick locks, that's something that we'll be teaching all of the children of Milwaukee, which will be great. The other thing is people build really cool projects and really big things. So this is a huge trebuchet they had out in the parking lot flinging pumpkins, which was pretty awesome to watch. And then the next thing coming up more locally is there's Gallery Night on October 2nd, which is a great opportunity in the city of Madison to see everything around the city and see what's out there for art studios and all kinds of creative spaces. We'll have our shop open that evening. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll open it up to questions. And you can pass the rest of my cool stuff around, sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be passing the mic around for questions, so just throw up a hand if you have one. I'll start. What are the biggest challenges you're facing right now?
The biggest challenges that I face would be right now is just labor and manpower. We're an all-volunteer organization. I've never taken a paycheck from the space, and eventually I run out of money. So right now I'm working on changing that and transitioning into a paid model. So that's something that we'll be working towards over the next year and a half as we move into a larger facility and can get reset and reset up. That's one of our biggest challenges. Among that, as well as just training and safety, having a lot of big tools and toys means that we need to make sure people are being responsible. So, good question?
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about the education that you did and sort of what that model looks like. And do you go out into schools, or do students come to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a couple of after-school science clubs. One is at O'Keefe Middle School, and the other one's at Sherman Middle School, which are our closest middle school neighbors. And so we bring an after-school science club to those schools, which actually I just got an email yesterday, so we'll be starting a little early this year. And we bring in Arduinos, which are little electronic controllers. We teach them how to 3D model and 3D print, so we bring the 3D printers to the schools. I chop out little marble machines on the laser cutter and have the kids learn how to assemble them, which they struggle with tools because they've never used them before. So it's fun to see them learn these things and to be able to progress in these skill sets. Part of over at O'Keefe, they have an existing Rocketeer Club and some other things, so we try to dovetail into that. So I've had the kids print out nose cones for the rockets and all kinds of stuff, because they just use cardboard tubes and you can't buy the right rocket nose cone. So it's really fun to have the kids realize they can just make them. Otherwise, I also teach at a high school. Later this afternoon, I'll be over at MG21. It's an alternative school in Monona Grove. So I teach a class once a week there for an hour to teach the kids how to use their makerspace. So they have soldering equipment and 3D printers and all kinds of things. And the teachers there aren't well trained in order to teach the kids how to use this stuff, and so I come in and help them with that. And then we've also anticipating a closer partnership with East High School starting this year. They've got a new principal, and we'd like to be on board and help them with some of their tech programming. So.
Hey, Chris, just kind of a second step on that. Can you talk a little bit about, I know the Madison Region Economic Partnership was looking at doing maybe a mobile fabrication lab as part of their IMCP designation. Can you talk a little bit about what that might entail?
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't in this world, there's a thing called a Fab Lab, which comes from MIT. It's sort of like a set of equipment that allows people to build lots of stuff. And so that's what a Fab Lab is. It's the same thing as what we have. It's just a particular designation for a particular set of equipment. And what some people do is they take all that stuff and they cram it into a semi-trailer, and then rather than getting a school to build all this stuff into their facility, you be able to bring the semi-trailer to them, and then they can use the equipment that's in there for a couple weeks or a month or whatever to work on their programs and their projects, and then to be able to go someplace else with it. And so that's something, actually, I have more than enough equipment to build it all out. The biggest challenge that we're going to need from the community is to provide funding, whether it's from the schools or from a regional program or otherwise, to be able to get enough funding together to pay for a staff and pay for a model to be able to drive a semi-trailer around. So it's certainly something we have no shortage of tools on, but I think we'll be working on some more structure on that. But yeah, I'm not sure where that's at in discussions, but I do know that we're ready to support it if we can get it put together. Any other questions? Yep, there we go.
Hi. So you brought in obviously some nice small token things, which are totally cool. Could you elaborate a little bit on the? I mean, like I'm just saying, like you can't bring in the big projects. Tell me about the wide variety of projects that you have there. Like, what's the largest project you have? Just kind of give some details about like what you do there and like what the limitations are, etc.
Sure. So strictly by volume, probably the biggest project was some folks a couple years back had a double-decker school bus that they built out for a cross-country trip. It took up like half the front of the building for several months. Other than that, importance-wise, there are a ton of entrepreneurs. We've had many members over the last 5 years working on lots of different things that have gone all over the place. Some of the projects have made like Wired Magazine. We've been a finalist or a winner in a lot of national contests. A lot of different equipment has been donated as a result of those things. Tool and stuff wise, I would say come by for a tour, but we have like 3D printers and CNC milling machines and laser cutters and all kinds of big tools. Most importantly though, we have people who know how to use those. So having a giant tool is a wonderful thing, but having a giant tool with no understanding of how to use it is a totally useless thing. It's a giant paperweight. And we have some of those too. But the biggest thing is having somebody who has the knowledge to know how to work through a process or a project. There are occasionally people who come in and say, I want to use this thing because that's exactly what I need to use to solve my problem. And realistically, we want to step back 5 steps and go, what's your problem you're trying to solve and how are you approaching it? Because maybe there's another way we can approach it that's like 100,000 times easier. Sometimes that means going outside of what we have in the facility and saying, all right, well, I'm just going to contract to this job shop because I can either spend the next 5 years of my life learning how to run this tool and learning how to perfect it, or I can walk into a shop and say, I'll give you $3,000, you run the tool, and you just give me the widgets that I actually want. And there are varying degrees of success in all those models. So that's one of the biggest things that we do provide, is trying to help you figure out what's a good approach or what's a good avenue to successfully accomplish what you're trying to do.
I'm just curious with the starting block, the logistics of like, are you guys expanding your size then of the shop, and or how are you going to move everything over?
Well, I'm going to be collecting names at the door, so names and email addresses. Everybody, you all have 2 hands, so this will be good. Yeah, we'll be a hard time moving everything. We're going to rent some semis, I think, and some big forklifts, so we'll see what we can do. Realistically, that project this winter, the goal is to break ground. Construction is going to take at least a year, and like I said, we still have a fundraising gap to finish, so that's going to be something that we'll continue to work on up until another 3 months from now, get that sorted out. The next biggest thing then is we'll be closing the shop facility that we have now. I pay about $50,000 a year in rent, which is a lot of money to spend to have a building, and the goal is to try and minimize that or reduce that cost such that we can use that to pay for staff and otherwise to be able to grow that model and grow the support and the people that are there to help with projects and help people accomplish what they're working on. And then, yeah, moving will be a lot of fun, but that's going to be a year and a half probably out from now, so it'll be a good time. When you see that email, please show up and lend a hand. Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah, so Steve and I are mechanical engineers. I think you came through mechanical engineering as well, and I had very few chances in school to touch stuff and make stuff. I'm just wondering if you see this movement actually changing the university systems at all or not?
UW just announced a $22 million grant from Granger Foundation to build a facility. They already have a student shop. I don't know why they're not just like pushing the wall out and making it bigger. But they're going to build a facility that they say is going to level student access to shops and technical facilities and manufacturing space. You know, again, it comes with a mindset of how do you help so many different people with so many different needs. I'd say, again, it's not a tool issue. It's more of a facilities and a people issue. That's going to be the biggest challenge that they're going to face trying to do that. You have so many different students from so many different backgrounds. The other biggest limiting factor, I think, with the university level is that they're not going to allow anybody to work on commercial projects. So you all as entrepreneurs would have to go in and lie about what you're working on to be able to work on it in a So, I think they're going to have to change that, frankly, if they want to see progress and see growth in business generation or otherwise entrepreneurship. And I think we'll see that over time, but I think that's something that they need to be thinking about now before they start putting bricks and mortar down and buying new equipment and otherwise. So and that'll be something ongoing. I think over the next year we'll see develop, and we'll have to see what happens. But I can empathize with you. I also did not get to touch any tools as part of my formal curriculum. That's all stuff that I played with outside of that. And usually when I give a talk, I talk about where I came from at UW. I wanted to save that for this morning, so I didn't go through that. But yeah, as a student, I worked on a lot of projects for fun, and that's where I learned how to use all this stuff. It unfortunately wasn't through school. Yeah.
So yeah, there have been a lot of like apps and things that make people become aware of and maybe even gain an interest in doing things they would have never really thought about doing. Like Instagram made everyone feel like they were great photographers and whatever. Do you see an equivalent in the makerspace?
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. I haven't thought about it. One of the biggest tools that's grown in popularity and effectiveness and cost is 3D printing recently. There's been a ton of buzz about that and a ton of talks about that and a lot of interest in it. Again, it comes back to knowing how to design a part to use the machine, but in the same sense, like once you make a 3D model or learn how to model stuff, you can hit enter on your keyboard and have this thing make the object. It's going to be made out of plastic, so it might not be as strong as what you wanted or as durable as what you wanted, but as a prototype, especially as a functional prototype, that thing is like gold. It's awesome to be able to do that. Because previously to that, if you wanted to make a thing, you're going to have to learn for like a year plus how to use equipment or tools or otherwise to be able to put something together and actually have a thing to hold in your hand. And that's something that I would say is going to push a lot of interest. Because if you can learn how to use a tool that in an hour literally or less, you can hit print and it makes a thing for you, and then iterate from that on what you really want to get at, that's going to make you motivated to learn how to use the more complicated tools that can make metal parts or otherwise. And that's something that I think is really going to change things, and already has. 3D printers, for those of you that don't know, the only recent improvement in them is about 6 years ago a patent expired, and that allowed anyone to make a machine off of this patent. And that's why it became so interesting. But they've been around for 35, 40 years. So the things have never changed. It's just that this patent expired and let anybody open up the market and start to make printers. So they went literally overnight from being $80,000 to $100,000 for the cheapest printer you could buy down to thousands of dollars. So this was crazy. And then today now you can go online. I think eBay, the cheapest printer you can buy is like $200. It will not work very well, and you'll have to put it together, and then it really won't work very well, but you can buy one, and it technically should work. I would strongly advocate for buying an assembled one. That's just me. Other questions? Yeah.
I think we'll take one more.
Oh, don't give it to the
Make
guy
it
in the back
good.
wall there. You skip him.
Sorry.
So do you have a program or a way to help your member from prototype to mass production?
That is a really hard question because it depends a lot on what you're doing. As I passed around some stuff, things take on so many different forms. That said, we do have members who are currently working products from prototype to mass production, being hundreds, thousands to tens of thousands, and we have had people do that in the past. So if you happen to have like an electronics widget or a relatively simple device in terms of it's a plastic case around an electronics board that needs to do something, that's something that a number of people have done. If you want to make like chairs, that's something that less experience with. That's a different set of manufacturing and different cost structure. Injection molding and making circuit boards and getting them assembled is something that's become a lot cheaper as well in recent times. But if you want to make a physical thing, like you have a new idea for a moped or a car or something, those are still really hard to get through into manufacturing. It just costs a lot of money. So if you have an unlimited supply of money, I'm happy to help you get to manufacturing. That's no question at all. But if you have a limited set of money, you're going to have a hard time, and everyone has a hard time. That's why you see a lot of interest around apps and app development and software development, because your distribution and manufacturing paths are very easy. Anybody can do it with a laptop and their dining room table, versus manufacturing is still very much, you need a factory somewhere, a warehouse somewhere to store all the stuff that you're making, and capital up front to buy all of it. You can't just sell it as you make it. Unfortunately, it's hard to do that. You got to make a production run, and you got to set it somewhere, and you got to hope people buy it. So, thanks everybody.
Great. Thank you so much for presenting. One more round of applause. Just a few more announcements before we close. 1 Million Cups is always looking for presenters and audience, so please, if you know any entrepreneurs, recommend that they come and present for us. They can apply through the website. And there's a lot of coffee and donuts. I don't know how much coffee's left, but there's a lot of donuts left. Please help yourself and keep networking. Chris should be around for a couple more minutes if you have any questions you'd like to ask him directly. And next week, 1 Million Cups will be back at 100 State. We don't have the library next week. Joy Tang of Markable is going to be presenting. I have one announcement about high-tech happy hour, and then I'm going to pass it back to Forrest.
Hi, I just want to invite all of you. Tomorrow night is High Tech Happy Hour at Park Bank on the Square. We're partnering with ULI, so I welcome all of you to come between 5 and 7 tomorrow night to Park on the Square.
And then just a quick plug on the Starting Block stuff. Chris mentioned Starting Block, that whole project. Chris and I are both very involved in that project since the beginning and trying to bring this thing to reality. And it's had a really cool, important time as far as wanting to break around this winter and this fundraising gap that Chris mentioned. And as of this week, we're actually launching a crowdfunding campaign to go along with that effort. So we'll be sending out some info on that to the Capital Entrepreneurs list as also, and hopefully the 1 Million Cups list as well, where you can actually go and buy a virtual block to help play a part in making this thing happen. You can go to startingblockmadison.org/donate for more info on that as well. So.